What's up, guys? Welcome to the King Closers Formula. I am the King Closer, RJ Bates III, coming to you on this Tuesday afternoon at 2:22 p.m. like we do every single week. This is the 498th straight day of us bringing you some long-form content. Hope you guys are enjoying all of the different styles of videos. We just wrapped up with the Wholesaling Quickie series, where we try to give you as much information as possible in less than 5 minutes. I got positive feedback from you guys, so I hope each and every one of you enjoyed those, weren't offended by my jokes. Listen, I get it. I know you guys actually have attention spans, but some people really enjoyed some of the shorter form. You know, they felt like it was more conducive to their learning style, and that's what we're trying to accomplish with those videos. So I appreciate the feedback on those. Today, we're going to be talking about how I'm a one-trick pony, and I don't have any problems with that whatsoever. And I'm going to use some examples of other companies, how they're also one-trick ponies, how they've, at times, strayed away from that one-trick pony mindset, and how that negatively impacted their business, and why I believe each and every one of you should also strive to be a one-trick pony in your wholesaling real estate business. That being said, we're rocking the victory green today. Go Dallas Stars. Game 4 tonight at American Airlines Center against the Winnipeg Jets. Miro's back, baby. We're pumped up. Time to put a stranglehold on the series. We're up 2-1. Hopefully going up 3-1. Smiles 5.7. How much is Titanium University, so I can put it aside from this deal? Current full price is $68.04. We do have different payment options. The payment plans do go up in price, but you can split that up into either 2, 3, or 4 different payments. That's what we've currently got working. Danny, you've got a beer league game. Oh, man. I'll be honest with you. That's a tough decision. I mean, you got to be super loyal to your beer league team to miss game 4 tonight. Super, super loyal. Steven says TU's $1 million. I love it. What's up, Angel? What's up, Mr. Christopher Gomez? Danny said you got the phones on the bench. I loved when Winnipeg came from behind against St. Louis. There's a video that went viral of a bunch of guys playing beer league in Winnipeg and just going absolutely apeshit when they scored the goal there to tie it up and then win in overtime. If you haven't checked that out, you need to. What's up, Mr. Terrence Mack, new TU member? Let's go Stars. Absolutely. Kente, what's going on, man? Smiles, let's get you in, man. Next onboarding is next Monday, the 19th. $1 million. He did not ask me how much it was going to be worth to members per day. I love it. All right, so appreciate each and every one of you tuning in today. Make sure you like the video, help the algorithm out. All right, let's get into this. So why I made a post inside of the TU group the other day. I literally just said I'm a one-trick pony. And they got quite a few different reactions. You know, got some heart emojis, got some laughs. And you guys know I always talk about the hedgehog concept back here. And it's a little bit different than that, but it's very similar. And the reason why I made the post is because at different times, there's just always someone inside of the real estate investing space, the wholesaling space, that has something to say about me. I don't really understand it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because their sales teams get tired of hearing about Titanium University or RJ's content, or RJ disagrees with you. I don't know why, but there's just constantly someone that has something negative to say about what we do here at Titanium. It's not based off of facts. It's not based off of results. It's just based off of their personal feelings of, hey, they disagree with what we stand for. And obviously, with me regularly talking about the hedgehog concept and saying, hey, the majority of your deals are going to be cash deals. You don't have to understand how to do sub two or seller finance or novations. Like, you can strictly focus on doing cash wholesale transactions, especially early on. And if you're laser focused on that, that should lead to you getting more closed deals and more wires in your bank account, which is what we should ultimately care the most about. But inevitably, there's someone out there that's running their mouth. In the past, it's been the one dial closes. Okay. You shouldn't do one dial closes. Not everyone's RJ. You can't close like RJ. Well, TU's proved that wrong. There's plenty of people that have come in and been able to replicate the closer's formula and have success. I'm the PPL guy. I was the texting guy. I'm the cold calling guy. I'm aggressive on the phones. I don't know how to have empathy. And now I'm a one-trick pony. And so if you want to learn how to do all these other methods as well as wholesaling, you got to come here. So let's talk about that. I have no problem saying, you're right. I am absolutely laser focused on being a one-trick pony. I just had a reel that came out a couple of weeks ago talking about the fact that we did 0 novations in 2024. But yet we had a great year, probably one of the best years that we've ever had. Now, if that's the case, and people are saying that I'm missing out, why those two don't add up? Why, if I'm not doing certain things, then why was I able to have a great year and be so successful and also stress-free? Because it isn't just about how much money you make. It's also about the life that you're leading. And that's where it became super easy for us here at Titanium, where it was like, hey, as the leads come in, we know exactly what we're looking for. We can embrace being the buyer in these conversations. The comping and the underwriting is a lot more simple for us. And so we're very laser focused on what we're doing inside of our hedgehog concept. And then when I look at other people and they're trying to figure out what they want to do inside of their real estate business or their wholesaling business, and they feel like they need to expand either their exit strategies or just strategies in general, this is where I get highly concerned, because it's like, hey, if you're already starting to taste success and then you feel like you're leaving money on the table, there's always a way that you can spin that to where, yes, if you're not doing a certain strategy, you would be leaving money on the table. Absolutely, because you're looking at something and saying, that one deal right there, if I were to do a novation, I could make $40,000. So there's the story right there of how you've convinced yourself that you're leaving $40,000 on the table, because the numbers don't work out for it to be a wholesale transaction. The only exit strategy would be a novation. So yes, you are leaving money on the table. However, the backside of that story is all of the work, energy, and knowledge that you would need to accomplish said $40,000 being realized inside of your business. And that's where I have a problem, where people don't understand that. And they don't take the time to truly think about what this looks like when you start replicating this over and over and over inside of your business. And because we were not chasing those shiny objects, we had very few issues inside of our business. So again, going back to the most important things, yeah, making money, being profitable is important, but also running a stress-free operation and not stretching ourselves too thin and having other things that could take us away from our core business concept. I think that is equally as important as the amount of money that you're generating. Am I okay with leaving a few deals on the table? Yeah, I am. Because I actually think in the long run, because we don't have any of those problems from going off into a different strategy, we actually end up doing more volume in the long run. Now let's look at some examples here that I've written down coming into today's topic. First and foremost, I want to talk about, I believe it was the first book that we read inside of Titanium University's book club, which, if you guys have not heard me talk about book club, I absolutely love the perspectives that are shared by, at any point in time, 20, 30 different entrepreneurs reading the exact same books and then giving their three largest takeaways from the same piece of literature and seeing how many different perspectives there are. And the first book that we actually read was Essentialism by Greg McKeown. This book right here, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. Now, if you just can't tell by the title in and of itself, Essentialism basically, this entire book preaches being a one-trick pony. I mean, spread out energy does not go far. It just doesn't. And so you have to look inside of your business and say, what is essential to us being successful? And when I looked at titanium and I looked at what are we the best at? What should we be solely focused on? It is wholesaling. We are really good at that. Now, if we were solely focused on flipping houses or being a landlord or doing sub-2, seller finance, novations, that being said, we probably could get similar type of results. But our foundation as a company is in a wholesaling. And so taking what Greg McKeown talks about in essentialism and putting it into business terms, it is irresponsible as a business owner for me to look at one single opportunity or one strategy and say, let's now spread ourselves so we can spread out our energy to hopefully make more money instead of just doubling down on what we're already doing, what we're already making money on. And so the actual business examples that we're going to give talks about that. First and foremost, the one that I have witnessed in my lifetime coming from nowhere and then becoming what it is today is Starbucks. Starbucks is essentially only focused on coffee and creating an incredible coffee experience for the consumer. Where I live, and I know there's parts like up in the Northeast where maybe Dunkin' Donuts had this, but where I live here in Texas, prior to Starbucks, you had the small coffee shops, but you didn't have what we have now, which is essentially there's a coffee shop on every corner, whether it's Dutch Bros, 151 Coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks. Starbucks kind of spearheaded that. But in the mid-2000s, Starbucks overexpanded, and they started selling music CDs, books, instant coffee. They licensed their brand. And what's funny about them doing that is it absolutely crushed their sales. And so when Howard Schultz came back in 2008, he discontinued all of their non-core products, like the music CDs, which, funny enough, why were they even going into music CDs? That was a dying entity to begin with. And they scaled back the food and all this other things, but they reinvested in the training of the baristas. And now look where Starbucks sits. I mean, literally, now if you go to a small town, it used to be, is there a Walmart? Now it's, is there a Walmart and a Starbucks? That's where, okay, wait, we're in a small town in East Texas. Boom, stop at the Starbucks. This is one of many examples that I'm going to give you today where when they decided that, hey, we've got this traffic going on, what can we do to expand our sales? And instead of just doubling down on what got them to where they were in the mid-2000s, they tried to go into something that they should have never even messed with. Another example is Coca-Cola. So in 1985, Coca-Cola, which I was 1 year old when this happened, but they introduced a new Coke, is what they called it. And this was essentially a version of the classic soda to combat what Pepsi had done, the new contender on the block. And so they experimented also into other products. I didn't even know this. They diversified themselves into wine, acquiring a winery, and movies, owning Columbia Pictures. I never knew Coca-Cola owned Columbia Pictures. But essentially, the new Coke that came out to fight against the competition that was Pepsi, the customers hated it. And literally it formed backlash not only against the new Coke, but also the existing brand of Coca-Cola and what had gotten them to where they were. I mean, the leader in that space. Why? Because they feared the competition coming on. Guys, I've said this time and time again, competition breeds greatness. Okay? What they should have done is sat down and said, how can our marketing efforts be better to beat Pepsi? Instead of saying, let's go ahead and give up to Pepsi and give them part of the market share and then diversify ourselves into other products to try to replace the lost revenue that we're going to have. And this is what I see inside of real estate investing businesses is that wholesalers will look at it and say, so I called 10 sellers today, and several of them were saying that my competition were willing to offer them more money because that person has an equity protection program. And so maybe what I need to do, instead of trying to beat my competition, is I should also try to open up my equity protection program. I should do novations so I can beat my competition with their same strategy. That's you just becoming one of the many, just one of the masses. Instead of standing up on your own 2 feet, looking that seller dead in the eye and saying, equity protection program. Why don't we do a quick Google search of that and see what that is? Or how about this? Simultaneously, why don't we Google search equity protection program and novation? Let's see what is a real tactic. Let's actually look at this. See, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, that my competition, they're easy to beat because they're liars. They lied straight to your face. They don't have an equity protection program. All they want to do is get your property. They want to list it on the MLS for a spread. This is how you beat the competition, not becoming one of them. And that's what happened here with Coca-Cola. They just gave up to Pepsi. Instead of doubling down on what they were already doing well, they tried to become something else, a winery, a movie production company. What are we talking about? Another one, this is a business that we use every single day here at Titanium, Slack. Slack was originally, if you guys don't know what Slack is, it's basically a communication. It's kind of like WhatsApp or something like that, but it's got channels and it's great for business communication. So we use Slack. It was originally a video game company. And when it was basically a failing video game company. But what they figured out was that the chat was the best part of what they had created as a video game company. So they doubled down and went all in on being a one-trick pony of a chat company. And now Slack is what it is, and it's used in so many different businesses across the world. Not being embarrassed that they didn't succeed at what they probably wanted to be, but capitalizing on what the market asked of them, being a chat company. Other companies that I look at, and I almost chuckle at what restaurants have been able to do over the past 20, 25 years. Because there for a while, it was like, how big is your menu? What all can you provide, right? We got burgers and tacos and donuts and pizza and all this different stuff. But there's companies out there that have blown up in recent years off of one thing: Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's, In-N-Out Burger, Five Guys. These business chains, I mean, if you go into an In-N-Out Burger, it's like, do I want one piece of meat, 2 pieces of meat, or 3 pieces of meat? And do I want cheese on that? Like those are your options. It's like you get a burger. You want a cheeseburger, and how much meat do you want? And then you get fries. And you want a Coke or a shake. That's it. And people love In-N-Out. In-N-Out's biggest competition here in Texas is Whataburger. But I'll be honest with you, I don't like Whataburger anymore. In-N-Out's stolen it from me. Like, In-N-Out is simple. It tastes better. They got better at what they were doing than Whataburger, their competition here. Raising Cane's, same thing. You go in, and it's like, do I want chicken strips, or do I want chicken strips in between two pieces of bread and call it a sandwich? That's it. Chick-fil-A, it's all literally the same pieces of chicken. Is it fried or is it grilled? Like, these companies are so simple. Why do we think that in our tiny little wholesaling operations that we need to be more complicated than massive organizations like Chick-fil-A, Raising Cane's, In-N-Out Burger, Slack, Coca-Cola? Why? Because we fear losing potential revenue. We look at it and we say, if we did that, we could make more money. Instead of looking at it and saying, if I double down on what I'm doing, I develop skill sets, I analyze the metrics, and I figure out what I can do on my marketing side. That's where you should be focusing your attention on how to make more money. And that's what we did in 2024. And looking back at it is literally one of the best decisions that we've made. So I say this where when I hear my competition say, hey, you're just a one-trick pony. I'm like, and you're just a jack of all trades and a master of none. That's why it does not matter what happens. If I'm on the phone with a seller and my competition is, more often than not, we are going to beat our competition. Provide the creative finance and the novations and all the made-up language that you have. We will beat you with transparency and honesty and really leveraging your inability to be great at what you're doing because you're spread too thin. That's why you can't look at a seller and just say, we're going to do what's called a novation. Let me explain what that looks like and how this process will help you in the long run based off the motivation that you just gave me. Another example is in 1996, Steve Jobs came in and cut over 70% of the product line that Apple had. Look at where Apple is today. Why is that the case? It's very simply put, why do you think that you are smarter than Steve Jobs? You probably aren't. I look at people that have succeeded like Steve Jobs and go, what did he do? What did he do when Apple was struggling? Oh, he simplified it down. He cut 70% of the product line. Maybe I should replicate what he's doing there. Why do brain surgeons make 10, 20, 100x times what a general doctor makes? Because they specialize in one thing. They're a master at what they do. Whereas the general doctor, more often than not, can barely even diagnose you with something. Are we sensing a trend here? Become that master at what you're doing instead of looking around and saying, what else could I do to increase my revenue? Because what ends up happening more often than not, now I'm not saying this is across the board, but more often than not, what I've seen in 15 years of being an entrepreneur, when I see someone decide that they want to go spread themselves, revenue might go up, but profit goes down. And at the end of the day, it's a vanity thing to say, look at what we're doing. I know this because I also did it myself. At first, it doesn't start off with a vanity metric. It very much starts off with, I want to make more money. And if I do more, then that opens it up. but you can only become a master at so many different things. And so this is why I'm always very leery when I have someone inside of TU ask me. Like today, someone asked me about doing novations. I don't know, man. It's scary because I look at it and I go, you are already succeeding. But he talked to someone who's averaging a $70,000 fee on novations. I get it. That's a lot of money. That's probably more money than he was making at his W-2 that he quit in January, in a year. He's like, man, if I could just add novations. It's about the mental bandwidth and what the direction your business is headed in the long run. It's not about one or two individual deals. It's about what happens when you look back like I do now over a decade of being inside of real estate investing and go, where were the mistakes made? I can tell you where there weren't mistakes made. When I said I'm laser focused on wholesaling, it was just a lot of deals that were done, a lot of revenue, and a lot of profit, and my life was great. Where did the problems exist? Where did they start from? Me spreading my energy somewhere else in the same space. It felt like up front, there's not that much different. I could do a flip. I could do creative finance. I could go do an apartment complex. I could do this portfolio. I could do innovation. And then over the course of time, that's where I can look back and say, and that's where we lost money. That's where issues came. That's where stress came. And that's why I repeatedly want to tell you guys, it's okay to be a one-trick pony. Other people might make fun of you, but who gives a shit? Like at the end of the day, isn't it about where you sit in your business, how much money you're making? Are you living the life that you want? When you made the decision that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, you probably didn't sit there and say, I want to be doing 10 different things inside of my business, so I'm stressed out the gourd trying to figure out what we're doing. No, you'd probably sit there and say, hey, if you could do one thing and make all this money and be stress-free, would you be okay with that? Yes. Problem is, entrepreneurs by nature are super creative, and we're always trying to push the boundaries. So we're always trying to come up with what's the next thing that we're going to do inside of our business. And that's where we get ourselves in trouble. So at the end of the day, do not be ashamed to say, that's my hedgehog concept. And yeah, I'm a one-trick pony. Now, getting back to some of the specific examples inside of real estate. If you want to do a novation, why don't you just outsource it to somebody? Like I tell the TU members, there are people inside of TU that specialize in doing novations. They do them all the time. And just partner with them. You don't have to do it to keep all of the money. Partner up with somebody else where that's part of their hedgehog concept. They've become a master at doing that. Then you can still capitalize on some of the money, and then maybe not all of it. But that might satiate that desire that you have for doing more or not leaving that money on the table that you're so afraid of losing. So, to my competition, here's the thing. I want everyone to stay focused and make money and create their own reality. So, yes, I am a one-trick pony, and I don't plan on stopping. Just like I didn't stop doing the one call or one dial closes. Just like I'm not going to stop wearing my fucking wrestling belts. Because honestly, I know you're obsessed with what I do, but I don't even know what the fuck you're doing over there. So just stop talking about me. How about that? On that note, let's open it up for Q&A. What can I help you guys with today? It's a shorter episode. So we got plenty of time to do some Q&A for you guys. Brett Bro said, hedgehog concept changed my life. I love it, man. Man, you got to change that profile picture from that EXP hat to that titanium. Nico says, hey, question. Do you still support Coupon Club as number one for a budget friendly? I feel like leads are not answering or already locked up. Absolutely. I think the coupon club is great. I'm not really feeling the whole they're not answering or they're already locked up because nothing's changed. I just think people have a tendency to make rash decisions on a very small amount of leads. My question to you, Nico, would be how many leads have you spoken to that are already locked up? If you tell me it's been 50, then I'll be like, okay, well, maybe we have a problem. If you're telling me it's like 3 or 4, I would tell you, well, you got 3 or 4 refunds. I mean, it's really not that bad if you call them and it's already locked up. Mythology, man, look at that. Look at that profile picture. Zeus coming in hard. Been to a couple of real estate meetups. Been told I'm expanding my net too far. Should I pull my scope in? I started nationwide, but felt like I should pull to like closer to me. Mythology, man. Here's what I would say. One, most people are going to tell you that going nationwide is dumb because they haven't done it and they probably have tasted success locally. And so they're going to tell you that, you're going too wide early on. I think there's something to be said about if you were to go local, like countywide or maybe even statewide, depending on where you're located. That could definitely help you on the comping and underwriting and the dispositions, but it's also limiting you on the lead side. So here's what I always tell people. You got to choose your heart. If you go nationwide, acquisitions is easier, dispo is harder. If you go local, acquisitions becomes harder and dispo becomes easier. So choose your heart. That's all this is. And so I wouldn't listen to what someone else tells me. I would just look at it and say, what do I want my business to look like? For me personally, I've always wanted acquisitions to be easy and dispo to be hard. Because if dispo is hard, I'm at least in control of a contract that I can monetize. And I can always reach out to someone else that specializes in dispositions in that area. But if I don't have a deal, then I don't have anything to monetize. And that bothers me far more than we have a deal and we can't get it sold, because that's where the creativity can take over and really help you move more deals. So that's where I would put your mindset on. What do you want your hard in your business to look like? Would you pick property leads or coupon club? I'm not sure. Thank you, by the way. I appreciate you a lot. Love the content. Appreciate that. Spoken to 4 so far, locked up. Just got into it 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so, I mean, that's 4 refunds. That's not a big deal. And maybe it was just because of the time, right? What I would say is if that's bothering you, then you could go to property leads and you get exclusive nationwide leads for $30. But I wouldn't say pick one or the other. Just why don't you take half of your budget and do property leads and half of your budget do coupon club and test it out for yourself. What's up, Anna? Go Stars. Hope your Knights come back. It's not looking great. Angel, how good do you have to be at wholesaling before you recommend someone expanded in a different income stream, also related to real estate like novations, etc.? Angel, I would say it doesn't really necessarily have to do with skill sets. It just has to be based off of the time constraints that expanding into something else would cause on your business. So if you are like in the trenches and you're doing acquisitions or dispositions or TC or even like lead management or whatever, and then you go to do a novation or a flip or something like that, and it takes your attention away from your wholesaling business, can your wholesaling operation like still function without your interaction? Because if that's not the case, then something inside your wholesaling business is going to suffer eventually. Maybe not in the first novation, maybe not in the first flip, and maybe not even after the first 10. Like for us, it took a very long time for us to get to the point where it negatively impacted our business. But that's where I would be concerned. Is like, hey, our attention got taken away. This deal over here is not doing good, and our wholesale operation is struggling. Can you talk about coupon club leads being 2 days old and add that to the weekend makes leads 4 days? Old leads don't answer the phone. Yeah, so Phil, what I would say on that is we are buying the leads as they come in, and yes, some of the older leads after the weekend and whatnot. Yeah, I mean it does impact that for sure. But this is also where, like, guys, diversify yourself. Now we have LeadZolo has their budget item where you can get leads for $35, $40, $45. Property Leads now has $30. Like, diversify yourself like we do. We don't solely rely on Speed of Leads Coupon Club. And I think that's where some of you guys are starting to feel that pain a little bit. Is volume of potentially skinnier deals doing more work or chasing the big whopper deals more advantageous? So that also goes back to some of the personality of the business operator, right? I would not be okay with me having two $50,000 deals in a month in comparison to having 10 $10,000 deals. I'd rather have the 10. And part of the reason why is because if like those two deals fall apart, we've got zero. If two of my 10 deals or even four of my 10 deals, we still make $60,000 or $80,000. And so I always kind of want to be diversified in what we're doing there. Now, of course, you always want to monetize your deals for as much as possible. So it's not like I'm solely focused on doing, skinny deals. But I'm also not going to pass on a skinny deal. Unless it's like, hey, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's going to be a lot of work and there's no money to be made. That's where I would pass on it. But I would not want to create my business to where I was solely trying to do the big whoppers, because I feel like that would just be a constant roller coaster of like, man, we had a great month, and then the next month, not really. At what point do you think it'd be a good idea to bring in more team members? I think once you have experience doing acquisitions and dispositions yourself, and you develop the skill sets enough to the point where you could actually show someone how to replicate what you've done successfully. Until then, you actually need to be in the trenches and doing the work. I think a lot of people try to, and also understand the responsibility that you are bringing upon yourself of needing, like, your business needs to be able to sustain enough revenue to support that person's livelihood. That's a massive responsibility that you're taking there. So I would want to see consistent results. I'd also want to see the point that you understand how to do the job that you're hiring for, so then you can train. How has AI helped your business for speed of lead, and why are people complaining about it? I don't know anybody that's complaining about it, so I don't know where that's coming from. The AI, I mean, obviously it's helped with the different tools that they've come out with, like the AI transcripts of the cold call leads and whatnot. Some of the other features that they've added over the recent times, but no, I don't know anybody really complaining about the AI inside of there. Have I used Tyson's virtual flip leads? No, I don't even know what that is. I really don't like pay attention. Like when I talk about things like being one trick pony, hedgehog concept, staying focused, I don't go out there seeking something else. Like what would be the point in me trying out Tyson's virtual flip leads? I literally had to outsource two of my deals to TU members to dispo because we have too many deals going on right now. So I wouldn't even need it. I'm guessing it's some sort of AI thing that he's got going on with someone else. What percentage of contracts should I anticipate negotiating a price reduction with my seller? I'd say somewhere in the range of 35 to 40%, Steve. Especially if it's going to be sight unseen. You know, the sight unseen, virtual, there's going to be stuff that comes up, especially if you're not by nature super conservative on things. So, like, I have a tendency to be more aggressive with locking something up with no issues going back and negotiating, because I understand and I set that precedence. Right? If you're not setting the precedence, then you're kind of messing yourself up, because it's not going to be successful, and then it's just going to piss off the seller. So you don't want to do that. But I would say somewhere in that 35 to 40% range. Mike says, having owned call centers in the past, at least once a week, I'd have reps complaining about lead quality. Then I would take those same leads myself and close them, and ain't the leads in most cases. Well, that's absolute facts. And this is a common thing, like Mike's talking about. I mean, I've seen it. I've been doing live videos now for the past 5 years, and it's very consistent where people come in, and the same people that, you know, love leads at one point in time, then something happens, and then they start complaining about the leads. And then when you go and you look inside of their operation, it's like it had nothing to do with the leads. It had to do with the lack of a follow-up process, or the lack of a skill set on closing and talking to sellers, or it was a dispositions problem or a lack of manpower. I mean, there's so many different issues that could come up where it has nothing to do with the lead provider whatsoever. That's all the questions you got for me? Man. I guess I'm getting too good at answering all y'all's questions. I was ready to rock and roll on this beautiful Tuesday. How does TU work? Man, you were ready to sign up. You don't even know how it works. I love it. So TU lifetime membership. Once you're in, we have daily implementation calls. So like today, my call was from 10 to 11:30. Answering questions, discussing different topics. We have live seller call reviews. We do live comp reviews. We'll do live disposition role play, basically. We have daily comp reviews where you can submit it into our system, and we'll do comp training with you based off of an actual lead that you have or a contract that you have. We have the course as well that shows you all the different things that we want you doing. And then you have the community as well. But now we've also added on 3 days a week. We have what's called office hours, where it's open up. It's members only. So it's not RJ and Cassie on there teaching. It's just you working with other community members, calling sellers or comping or role playing or just asking questions of each other. Some people are working deals together, but that's the main core facets of TU right there. I'm a 12 or 13 depending on the shoes. So like Jordans, I wear 13s. How much is TU? It's $68.04 lifetime, or we have 3 different payment plans. You can split that up into 2 payments, 3 payments, or 4 payments, but the price goes up, so there's like an interest charged on that. How we handle sellers that don't have a lot of equity and high interest rates? I mean, dude, what is our job as a wholesaler? Our job as a wholesaler is to provide equity to our end buyers. If we're not providing equity, then it's not wholesale, it's retail. What is a wholesale item? This bottle of water was wholesaled to Walmart. This could sell for $1 on the shelf. Imagine if the wholesaler went to Walmart and said, you can have this for 98 cents. Walmart would be like, get out of here. Right? So it has to be at a discount. Otherwise, you're not wholesaling, you're retailing. Robert said role play during office hours is really cool. I love that you're there. I love that you're enjoying it, Robert. Are those payment plans credit based? No. The only real collateral that we take is your kneecaps if you don't pay. You were satisfying a lot of our questions. I appreciate the love, RJ. Another question of mine is, how do you measure percentages based off of revenue and profit distribution to your company and yourself? Well, we have a CFO, and we have monthly meetings as well as quarterly meetings, and we have a forecast, and then we have metrics that we want to hit. And so that's all like predetermined based off of what we're forecasting for the business. So it's not necessarily like we are not making those decisions as they happen. They're already predetermined. And then we go out and we achieve those. And then when X happens, then Y is distributed between either the partners. But like, for example, me and Cassie, we have a salary that we take, and then we have distributions off of profit. Could you do a live where you see who outcloses who, me or Cassie? We actually did that once. We both ended up getting 2 contracts. Do you consider years of ownership when buying leads? No. Because, Phil, if the condition is bad and the motivation exists, there's a chance that based off of the years of ownership, we might miss out on buying a deal from an investor who bought that deal already discounted. And so that's one of the areas where I've never wanted to shortchange. I feel like if the property is physically distressed and the motivation exists, I'm okay with dealing with the fact that there's no equity, because there's times where there will be naturally equity built into it. George Strait, what's up? What sets your program apart from every other wholesale guru? To be honest with you, I don't really know what other people do inside of their programs. I just know what we provide, and I know the feelings that the majority of TU members have based off of what we like. For example, yesterday, Cesar Lacosta created a video about, it was 35 minutes long, about why you should join Titanium University. It was unprompted. I didn't ask him to do it. It was Caesar and Jacob Zawacki and Sean Diamond, 3 members, just talking about the impact that it's had on their lives. I think the thing that really probably separates us from the majority of other programs is our interaction with the other members on a daily basis, and the fact that we are very much involved with not their like monthly growth or their weekly growth, but it's very much about like day to day. We are in in the trenches with them and understanding where they are in their path. Also, just, I think George, if that's your real name, it's probably not, but if you followed me for any period of time, I think you also will know the level of care and concern that I have for the people that follow me. And inside of TU, it's only magnified because you have paid me for that. And I want you to succeed more than anything. And so for me, it's about immediately getting you to take action and being there on a daily basis to offer support based around what's happening inside of your business. And like I said this to someone the other day, they asked, well, actually it was on Caesar's video. They said, has anyone inside of Titanium University failed? And I said, of course. The difference between us and a course or somewhere else is that we are there every single day. We provide you with the tools and the knowledge and the capability of succeeding. So even if you fall off the wagon for a short period of time, you can come back. You're there for life. And we'll be there day in and day out. and the opportunity to get back on the wagon and to turn things around always exists. And I can guarantee you're not going to go anywhere else where anyone is going to care more about the success of their members than me and Cassie. And I can hand down say that because I know what we put into it. Just for example, guys, this is my 498th straight day of creating a long form video. We have never missed an implementation call inside of Titanium University. It doesn't matter. Like, we are literally the definition of consistent as a tree. Like, you cannot take that away from us no matter what. Does your program work with homeowners that would be better off with creative or innovation? George, I think maybe you missed the beginning of the video. Listen, we teach wholesaling. If you want to do novations, then you should go hire someone that specializes in novations, a Rich Wonders or an Eric Brewer. If you come in and you're like, hey, will you teach me how to do novations? My answer would be no. Why do you think you would need that? I would go into the details. The first question I ask you is, what's your hedgehog concept? You got to fill that out. If it were to be a wholesaler, or if your hedgehog concept were to be like strictly doing novations, then I would tell you you're probably in the wrong community. Now, if you want to be a wholesaler that does novations, I would kind of chew that up, spit it out the other side. Basically like I did this entire first 30 minutes of the video about being laser focused on one thing and getting great at it. I would probably narrow that down to, if you feel like you need that, it's probably because you're not good at closing and you're struggling with the most common type of seller, which is incorrect price but motivated to sell, and you don't know how to close that, and no one's taught you that. And that's what we would teach at Titanium, is how to overcome that struggle. Are you at a point in your wholesaling where you don't care how much you make, or is there a break-even monthly goal you have? Well, of course, like I said, Kente, we have a CFO and we have metrics and we have like revenue forecasts. And then based off of the overhead that we have metrics that we're wanting to hit. But we're definitely in a place to where, if we had a string of bad months, it would not be like life altering. Let's see. Kente, no, Cassie and I did that like a year ago. Mike says, what set TU apart is implementation and very strong community. The networking is also second to none. Yes. Oh, hey, RJ, I've been curious. What motivated you to start TU instead of continuing to earn solely for yourself? Well, we had already been doing education. So we started the Titanium Crucible back in 2021. And so I could speak on what led us to start that, because that's what it inevitably led to us doing TU. I shared this the other day with the team when they came in, because some of them hadn't heard this. But Jesse Burrell, the CEO and founder of Batch Leads, called me one day, and he had just got done watching me do the first 50-50-50. And he said, why don't you do education? And I talked about the hedgehog concept, being laser focused. We were in a good place with our wholesale operation. And he broke it down to me where he said, there is someone right now that has $10,000 that they're going to give someone to teach them how to do wholesaling. You know more than anyone about what you do than anyone in this industry. You have an obligation to yourself, your team, and your family, and that person who has that $10,000 to start doing education. And it was that moment that led us to make the decision to start doing the 2-day boot camps here at our office. And we did that from 2021 to 2023. And in late 2023, we made the decision to start Titanium University because we wanted to have a long-term impact on people's businesses instead of just doing a 2-day, drink from a fire hydrant and hope you go succeed, which is kind of how it felt at times with the Crucible. Cassie and I found a passion within the coaching space and helping other people's business. Listen, I love doing deals, and sometimes they're emotional, but Cassie and I get a high off of changing people's lives. And when I look at what we could do inside of TU, I don't think Cassie and I have cried more emotional tears of happiness than we have hearing the feedback and the results and the life-changing impact that we've made inside of TU. And so it's a passion of ours now. Like, it's going to be our legacy. I want to impact as many people's lives as possible. And by buying people's real estate, I can achieve certain parts of that, but not the way that I can by spreading that around to hundreds and thousands of people. Was there a defining moment or realization that pushed you to create a community rather than focusing solely on personal success? Yeah, I mean, that's what I just talked about. You hit me right with that. I do have a problem going in for the close because they are mostly always so far from MAO or my offer. George, couple different videos that you can go watch. One's called, dang it. Well, the closer's formula. I mean, you could do that. I mean, a low ticket item that you can purchase, George, is the King Closers War Chest. It's down in the description. It's $97. I've got a bunch of videos that go over there, but this is basically around get a price, understand the motivation, and then after you've understood the motivation, which should take 5 to 6 open-ended questions, you then go into educating the seller based off of these are the numbers: ARV, rehab, then using the profit calculator, including the holding costs, closing costs, and the profit for the end buyer. That's how we come up with our offer. And that should take you anywhere between 12 to 20 minutes of educating the seller, getting them to agree to the ARV, getting them to agree to the amount of rehab. This is a real quick synopsis on this, but I've got a lot of videos. But the King Closers formula is a lot of the videos that you can go watch on this topic. I think if you just go to my channel, it's the most watched live. I think it's got like 45,000 views. You can watch me talk about that. But that's where that education piece, you're really going to have to dive into it. And honestly, it's something that you have to get good at. It's what will enable you to be able to hit your necessary metrics. All right. How do you stay consistent when buying leads with a lower budget? Left Eye Louie, here's what I'm going to tell you. You have a low budget right now. If you were to close one deal and make $15,000, you should never have a low budget again. So what I would tell you, Louie, is you got to look at this and say, what can I afford today with what I have? And be consistent with it. And it might suck. I mean, it might suck to where it's like I can buy one lead a day. All right. Well, you're going to have to work the shit out of that one lead. And then 2 days, you're going to have 2 leads. And then 3 days, you're going to have 3 leads. And it builds up over the course of time. The problem is, Louie, people give up on leads. See, if you bought me 1 lead a day, it wouldn't take me very long before I would have a deal. And then I would get that deal closed, and it's off to the races, and you're never going to see me again. That's where you've got to be. You've got to get to the point where you can close a deal and reinvest that money in, and then you're super consistent. Because if you were to make $10,000, $15,000, buying leads is irrelevant. They're $29, $30, $35 at this point. You should have more than enough. It's just right now, you've got to figure out how you can get something to the closing table immediately. So utilizing some of the cheaper lead sources, or going out and rocking it the hard way, cold call, FISBOs, whatever you got to do to get one deal. But then when that deal closes, don't reward yourself. Reward yourself with leads. All right. Julius, I broke it down on my 0 to million video. I'd recommend going and watch that. Ideally, I would like for you to have $6,000. You can always start with less, for sure. But $6,000, I think you could easily turn that into just a massive machine very quickly. What's the backstory on how I came across speed to lead and property leads? So speed to lead goes all the way back to 2021, maybe even 2020, before speed to lead even existed. They had reached out to several other people that were known to be good closers in the industry. Hadn't really worked out. They hadn't gotten any deals across the finish line. They had an idea of what speed to lead could be. They needed to test it with someone. So they came across us. We actually worked with them. Cassie worked with them a lot, really navigating like the quality of leads, what was good, what wasn't. And then that's what led to eventually speed to lead coming about. I did my first live with them after I won the initial Closers Olympics. And ever since then, we've been working very close with them. They're a massive part of the TU community. And then always just trying to improve the product. Now, property leads was last year. Cassie and I are part of a mastermind called Family Mastermind. And the owner of property leads was actually sitting in the hallway where the mastermind was located at the hotel, waiting on me. And when he saw me, he said, "I need to talk to you." And he said, I would love to, have you work my leads. I promise you'll be very impressed. Of course, going after speed to lead and lead solo, he was like, "We're higher quality. We can prove it, blah, blah, blah." And so I said, "All right, I'll give you a shot. Let's do it live. I won't announce who it is because I don't want people to know unless I give a thumbs up on it." So we did a live last year. It's called Testing Out a New Lead Source on the video. And they gave me 30 leads. I got 3 signed contracts during the live, and ever since then, we've been working with them. Crispy Bacon. I want to buy my first lead today. Where should I go? Well, Chris, do you want to buy one or you want to run business? At the end of the day, one lead isn't going to do anything. So here's what I would recommend, Chris. I would love for you to split test between lead solo, speed lead, and property leads. Take whatever that budget is that you have for leads, split it up in 3, test out those 3. Property leads, nationwide, exclusive, $30. Lead solo has a marketplace. You can get them for $35 to $50. Boom. Speed to lead, $200 a month, $29 a lead. Coupon club. That's what I want to see from you. How many leads is a good amount to start with? Mike, I don't want you to go buy 50 leads and say, "Well, I got 50 leads. This is a good amount." I want you to look at your business, and I want you to commit a budget for 90 days and then split that up over the 90 days. And however many leads that gets you a day, that's what you should be working. So if you can only buy 5 leads a day, you get your 5 leads, work those 5 leads. And then tomorrow you've got 10 leads. And then in 3 days you got 15. But you got to work those. But it cannot be just a batch dropped in, because otherwise you're just going to have leads that just wither away and die. I'm not going to be calling leads today. Have you ever assigned a commercial deal like apartments or storage unit? If so, what's different about the process? We've done apartments. There's nothing really different about the process. Apartments would just be, understanding the cash flow, understanding the net operating income for the end buyer. We have not done storage units, so. I have two $5,000 credit cards. Do you recommend going after discount leads? Discount, always. Start there. More leads, more opportunities for you to fail. Go work the three. The guy, kingclosersformula.com/fleet gives you the discounts that you need on the different programs. Edward, I know you joined TU, man. I've connected with a couple of TU members who helped me network and move a deal I locked up this morning, getting it signed in under 5 hours. I love it, brother. I love it. I can only imagine the added value I gain once onboarding is complete. I'm excited to have you in the family, man. I saw your name come across. I was like, man, that dude's going to be a killer. I can't wait to get in there and work with you. And excited that you already got a deal moved with the team. It's awesome. Linty Boy, what's your favorite list to pull for cold calling? I actually don't do any more cold calling, but if I were, what I would do is I would go into batch leads and I would go into a specific city, and then I would pull all of the pre-foreclosures, tax delinquents, expired listings, vacant properties, inherited properties. I feel like I'm missing one. Unknown equity, that's another one. I'd stack all those, and that's what I would cold call. Tired landlords was on there too. I don't know, man. I would not buy those good. Hey, listen, the good leads are the same leads. Discount leads and the good leads are the exact same. The only difference is no one bought it exclusive. That's the only difference. And 48 hours passes. So don't get it twisted. The other day when I went live with property leads, I literally got the worst leads that existed. And I locked up 4 out of 6 sellers that I talked to. Those are literally the leads no one would buy. Like they didn't have anybody to buy them. Like right now, you could go get those exact same leads for $30. I try to simplify this as much for you guys. It's just like, no, it's just that they're newer. The more expensive is just like it's exclusive and it's brand new. Like they just filled out the form. So it's like, yep, click, boom, call. They're still on the website. We got them. What I got is they filled this out 48 hours ago. All right. I called them. No one else had called them. I closed it. They just thought I was lazy. They didn't care. I didn't care. Love it. Braden, you moved my deal in Texas yet? All right. Looks like you guys are done with the questions. Oh, speed of lead. Gene coming in with the gym. It's 44 hours. I will change on my sales pitch there, Gene. Quality is more dependent on the proficiency of the closer than the price. Facts. I have $300,000 equity in my property. How would you invest it in real estate, or how can I use it for wholesaling? Well, Chris, I would not use a lot of that. I mean, you do not need a lot of money to get started, Chris. I mean, you need capital, but I mean, you could use, I mean, like I said, $6,000 would be plenty if you have skill sets. I think if you were to come in and you were to give yourself $30,000 out of that equity, that way you're not putting your whole house on the line here. You have a cushion, right? It gives you plenty of leads to work. You could invest in yourself into some sort of mentorship that can support you. That's what I would do. And it would just be based around having my systems and my leads. And some sort of understanding of what you're doing. Someone there to hold your hand. But I would not take out a lot of that. I would leave that. You've earned that. And so if you go and you take 20, 30K, I mean, you're talking about you just need to move 2-3 deals, and then you can have that paid off. And now you're right back in the position you were. but now you understand how to do this, and you understand how to do deals, and you have that capital to do it. That's what I'd be focused on. But I would not take a lot of that equity out of there. You've earned that position, so leverage a little bit of it, but not a lot. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and remember, it's not a bad thing to be a one-trick pony. It just means that you're a master and not a jack of all trades. Make sure you like today's video. We'll see you guys tomorrow.